Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farm, and today we're going to make a couple repairs on my wood stove. We're also going to clean it up, make it look a little nicer, and maybe do a couple upgrades while we're at it. So I got this wood stove for $300 with all the pipe and everything included, and I just needed something to do the job. And it's doing the job. But the other day, I had a fire going in here, and as I swung this open, the door kind of dropped down and was flopping like this. And since I already had a fire going, I just had to close it off. So whenever the fire cooled down, I pulled it up and kind of saw how this goes together. I called around and no one had the little pins required for this door, so I had to order some. The last few days, I've been running a propane heater here in the shop. And I'm actually doing a cost comparison, and I'm going to do a big cost comparison between the wood stove, propane, kerosene, diesel, electric, heat for a shop like this. But right now, what we're going to do is replace those pins, and then we're going to replace the seal that's supposed to go around this door. And I actually bought the stove and used it for a few days before I realized there's supposed to be a seal in there. So I had already bought the seal, and I've been using it without the seal, but you shouldn't do that. Okay, so when it's drafting, it doesn't matter that much that it has a seal. The only thing the seal does is allow you to control the airflow, which controls how hot and how fast it burns. And if it's not drafting, when you first start it, or as the fire cools down, it can stop drafting. That can let smoke into your building. So even though I've been doing it, you should not run it without the seal. So the first thing we're going to do is get that pin knocked out. Then we're going to start cleaning up and shining up the stove. Then we'll get the seal put in. This top pin pushed out pretty easily. The bottom pin didn't want to come out. It's a 3/16 diameter. So I've got a 5/32 pin here. And I've soaked it in Rust Patrol for the last couple days. I really didn't anticipate this being a big deal. When the bottom pin broke off and the top one was kind of hanging on there, and I was messing with it trying to figure out what to do, and it broke off too. So then I had a broken pin in both spots here and a broken pin in both spots in the door. I hammered out the two out of the door. I hammered out this one. They all came out easy. This one didn't want to come out. So I thought I'll soak it for a couple days. No big deal. Well, I've been beating it and beating it. I soaked it and I heated it and I hammered it, and it is not coming out. And actually what's happening is this point just keeps driving further down in there. And I'm like, man, that metal must be really soft on those pins. So I tried to grab the bottom of the pin where it's sticking out here and move it with vice grips or with pliers. And it was just like smushing. The metal's so soft, it's not going to come out, I don't think. I'm going to try one more time. Literally, the punch is almost halfway through this. Okay. By drilling most of the way through it, I guess it relieved enough pressure that it finally came out. So the next step is just going to be time consuming. I've got a really coarse brush. And I'm just going to scrub the top of this. And actually, I want to show you what that looks like. Up here close, you can kind of see the texture. Here I've got some acetone. And that's all I'm going for right there. I just want to get the entire stove to this point. Now we're going to apply this stove polish. It says to use a cloth or brush, and I don't have any shop towels, so we're going to try it with paper towels. This says it is a black stove polish is a non-toxic water-based combination of high-quality waxes and black pigments. It also says contains graphite and carbon. Now, whenever I lit this stove for the first time, this stove was used when I got it. So obviously it didn't gas off from the stove, but the stove pipe gassed off. And it was smoky in here. So the first time you burn it after doing the stove polish, you're going to get that same effect where it's going to be smoky just a little bit. Now they say that is non-toxic fumes, but I still think I'd open up a door first time running it after putting the polish on. Now we have the door pins that I ordered off Amazon. These are 5/16 by 1 inch. We're just going to hang this on here and drop those pins in. Beautiful. So I've purchased a seal kit. Essentially what that comes with is a fire retardant piece of rope that kind of makes up your gasket and gasket adhesive. And then this rope sets right in here and forms that barrier. It basically just seals airflow in and out of the stove. And what we're going to do is glue the rope in here, and then when we close it, it will hold pressure against it. Now the videos I've watched, I've never actually sealed one of these, but I watched a few videos, and they all said the hard part was getting that rope to kind of stick in there. And so he said put the glue on and let the glue set for about 10 minutes until it's starting to get tacky, and then put your rope on and it'll stay. I'm going to go ahead and cut the length on this rope. It needs to go from here up to there, over to here. Now this was available in different sizes, and I didn't know what size my stove had used because I didn't buy it new. But I got the smallest rope they have, and it almost looks too big. So I definitely didn't want the larger ones. And it is dripping everywhere. From the description I had previously gotten and the videos I'd watched, I thought this was going to be much thicker glue. Let's see if I have the same results as the other guy. No, not really. Okay, it is popping out. As you push that in, it kind of pops back out. Okay, we've got enough glue in there, and I'm going to let it sit just a little bit and start to cure. And I'm going to get some tape, and I'm going to tape our seal into the groove so it'll stay. Once the door's closed, it'll stay, but we might need a little help getting it to stay long enough to close the door. While we're letting that glue kind of dry, I'm going to talk about the next thing I got, which is fire bricks. Now, any like high-end wood-burning stove, comes with fire bricks. My stove in the house has fire bricks. The stoves of this kind I've had before have never had fire bricks. Maybe because they're cast iron, I don't know. But I've just never seen one of these with fire bricks. And I thought, you know, should it have them? So I did some Google searches and I was reading. And it was kind of mixed reviews on people saying that you do want fire bricks with this kind of stove and people saying that you don't. It protects the bottom of your stove. It maintains the heat overnight. But some people said you have a small firebox and you're reducing the size of your firebox by putting those in. So I'm kind of torn on it, but I'm going to put them in there and try using them for a while. I also want to read your comments. Tell me if you have any thoughts on this. So I was told this was going to be a pain, and it definitely is. So we're going to try some tape to solve it. The middle. Stick that guy right there. And tape it on. And we're going to put a little more glue on because the glue's kind of dried on us. Packing tape, so it's not going to stick very well. So it's not going to try to pull the gasket back out when I remove the tape. My advice would be, if you ever have to do this, start with the tape. I'm sure that a lot of types of adhesives that you might think might work better won't work in this application because of the heat involved. Next thing I've got here is a thermometer. It's got a magnet on the back. It's got temperature range from 100 to 800. The yellow here says too cold, creosote. The green says optimum burn. Everything over here says too hot, over fire. So we just pop that on here. Yeah, I think a little higher. Let's see if the instructions say how high up to put it. But that will tell me if I'm burning my fire at the right heat, which is important. And that was a cheap little add-on. The other thing I thought about getting was one of those little fans that you set on top. But I didn't like the one that was available at my local stores, so I'll look into those a little bit more. But overall, I think we've made a big improvement. Obviously, this had to be done because it was broken. This, the seal, had to be done because it was dangerous. And clearing off some of that rust and getting some stove polish on it, I think was a good idea. I feel like this was a successful project. I'm really happy with the way it went. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.